Well, I tried to pick someone that I thought everyone would know. Most of the people I usually do demos for are people I know, and the kids never know. They don't know Jack Nicholson or Clint Eastwood or anyone like that. But he's still active and working, so I figured everyone would know. All right, so portraiture. I wanted to tackle portraiture with you guys just to get past the psychological block of portraiture. For me, initially, I always thought portraits were the hardest thing to paint. And so I took it upon myself to purposely do portraits for a year. And the first one sucked, but I got better and better and better at it the more I practiced. And then eventually I came to the realization that a portrait is just like a flower, it's just like a barn, it's just proportional relationships. And if you can get past that, then it'll all merge together. And then with specific portraits, you need to pay attention to specific facial aspects. What is the distance between the eyes? Where does the edge of the mouth line up to this eye? I usually pick one single aspect and then everything else builds off of that. What is the angle of the ear to this eye? How far up does the head go compared to this eye? And so forth. So everything relates to everything else. With watercolors, we work light to dark, just like we did with our flower. So I'm going to do my light area first. My photo washed out a little bit. He's not normally that pale, so I'm going to start with just clear water. And I'm going to go over the eyes too, because like Cam pointed out, white is not always pure white. Teeth have a shade. They're a shade of white, and when you add that little shade to it, it starts to look more natural. Now I'm just doing an underpainting at this point. I'm not worried about accuracy or anything like that. I am just kind of giving myself a launching pad before I go into the rest of it. I will gradually get more and more refined as I go along. And I like painting this way. Oh no, my brush got over here. That's okay. You know, you can have marks over there, you can have marks out there. That's all fine. It doesn't matter. I like paintings that look like they just sort of occur. They just emerge out of a certain area. All right. Get a little bit more in there. So I drew him, and then I went back and erased some of my pencil lines so that nothing was too dark, because again, all this needs to go away after we paint. Traditionally, one does not leave one's pencil lines. All right, so he's fairly dry. If I want him to dry a little faster, I can blot some of these areas, get some little highlights. It's all good. Then I brought my handy dandy portable hairdryer unit here too, just to speed things up a bit. So as soon as the shine is gone, I'm good to go. Oh, I brought presents for you all too. Yeah, there you go. It's from my Vegas show. Enjoy and pass it out to your friends. Personally autographed too, so hang that over your toilet. All right. So I've got my lightest shades, and now I'm just gonna go gradually darker. If I lay down some color and I feel like it's too dark, I can get my little paper towel and just pull that right back out and get a nice little shadow exactly where I want it to be. I'm going to continue with this orange pinky color. Seems to be suiting his tones. And I'll give you a confession. With celebrities, people who have very well-known facial characteristics, I usually project the image or trace it in some way, because if you're just a little bit off, it's going to look like Brad Pitt's brother. Brad's neighbor, something like that. It won't quite look like him.
Does not look like Brad Pitt at all. That was an unfortunate happening of genetics.
Oh, that'd be terrible to be his brother.
Neither does Ashton Kutcher's twin brother.
Oh, no. Okay, but the Efrons. They all got lucky.
I saw something about Zac Efron getting plastic surgery recently.
Really? He would be at that age where he'd start to...
Something about like facial reconstruction. Like all the fans are saying he had jaw surgery. So.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't he say he had dental work or something?
Yeah, I saw that too. Some people were saying dental work. But to each their own.
He got a cavity filled, the audacity.
It was like his whole facial structure though. It looked so different.
Sometimes when I do painting demos, I stop talking. So if I'm doing something and you're not following me, snap me out of it and I'll elaborate.
So in oil painting class, you always yelled at me for using small brushes. Is it the same in watercolor?
Well, no, because with watercolor, the sheer scale of it demands smaller brushes. So most watercolors are very tiny because it was initially invented as a sketching medium. Albrecht Dürer, our friend, our German printmaker from the 15th century, would take his watercolors out and sketch a landscape and then take that back and work on it in the studio and make a large scale oil of it. So it's meant to be small. And I never yell.
Are you using red and orange?
I am using yellow ochre and alizarin crimson mixed together here. In fact, I'll remix it for you and you can see how it comes about.
With lots of water.
Of course, with lots of water. That's right.
It's water. It's lots of water I have difficulty with. Use more water.
Here's our alizarin crimson, which is our red, and we won't need much. And then here's our yellow ochre, which is going to be our dominant color, and then you just gradually mix them until you get into that pink area. Boom, boom, boom. So as I'm going, I am trying to think of some alternate colors that I can include. I like to use unexpected colors in a portrait, so I think I'm going to put in some blue in his facial tones, because I can kind of sense a little blue here and this highlight here, down on the goatee, a little bit in the hair, and so I'm just going to lay it in there, see what happens. If I don't like it, I can pull it back out. No big deal.
How do you pull it out?
Just get your Kleenex. Pull it right back out.
What if can you pull it out once it's dry, or is it too late?
You can. So let's pretend this is dry and I've gone and had a drink and come back and decided I don't like that anymore. You just re-wet it and scrub it with your brush very lightly, because if you scrub too hard, the paper will come apart and make all those little messy paper fragments. But yeah, just wet it and it'll pull back out. Easy peasy. Very forgiving in some respects, in most respects. It's just when you get these deep stains like the alizarin crimson or the phthalo blue, once it's in there, it's in there. It's not coming out. There's no amount of prayer or human sacrifice that's going to bring that back out.
Change the design so it fits.
That's right. Work it in there. You remember in all my lessons. You're a little sponge.
Put a face mask on him.
Yeah.
Because it's your painting,
That's right.
and it's your representation of whatever it is.
That's right.
So there is nothing wrong.
I can put devil horns on it if I want.
You can,
It's
and
mine.
it would be right.
That's right.
Because in your world, that's the way it is.
Sure.
Like after class yesterday, it was either paint my watercolor watercolors are curled up in a fetal position on the floor of my office.
Oh, well, I'm glad you painted. And see, I'm not in a big fat hurry here to get this done. Gradual, gentle, translucent layers. You can see everything that you paint underneath everything else. So don't get in a hurry. And you have to kind of plan that color mixing in advance. So if I know I want this to be a little redder, but I want to see a little bit of this mark on top of it, so you paint what's going to be underneath, then you let that dry, and then you go back on top of it. And as they layer on top of each other, they will build the image that you want to build.
So watercolor is going to help me with my control issues and my need to rush through.
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
It's
go
gonna
slowly.
help you become more centered as a human. It'll make you a better person.
I have the same issue, so we'll see if it helps.
Well, and then if you can combine it with alcohol,
That helps.
it's a really good scene.
Are you talking about the technique or the drink?
A drink. You're never too young to start drinking, kids. I'm just kidding. It's just a little joke.
See, I really enjoy painting hair, but short, like facial hair, stresses me out. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about that.
All right. You don't have to paint every little hair. You want to imply the texture of the hair. Just like we did in oil paint, you don't have to paint every single... I just want to catch these shadows and these highlights. Your brain will fill in the rest of that information. I don't have to do that work. So his hair is darker the closer it is to his head, and then it gradually gets lighter. So I've got my lighter area done. Now I'm going to paint my darker and let it touch that wet area. And look at that, it blends itself. I don't have to do it. And I left a few little white streaks there for the highlights. Oh no, it got in the head. That's okay. I did that on purpose. Goofed it up just so I could fix it. But now I'm thinking I don't need to fix it because it looks like a shadow, which is what I knew was going to happen all along.
Do you use dry brush a lot with hair, or do you try to stay away from that?
Yeah, I think a little less water with the hair because you want those harder edges, whether it's short or curly. I mean, there's a lot of texture there, and I want to communicate that. So a drier brush. You could do super dry. I'll get a little of this and just kind of scrape it in there for a little texture. And then that would be all I would do.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm implying this color without painting every single hair. And then if I want to go back, touch it up a little bit, and maybe add a few little streaks in there, I can do that too.
So I just learned what I thought was a wet brush is apparently not.
What's that?
Because when you're like super dry, I was like, oh.
Well, it can, I'm just like I said, it can be whatever you want it to be. Different things require different textures. It all depends on what you want to do. So with Mr. Pitt, I'm gonna consider my background here. I'm using that sweet cold pressed paper. Look at that texture, man. That's good stuff right there. I brought my air can. I was gonna show you a little trick.
Ooh.
So if you want it to look even more random and spontaneous, lay a little water in there. get little splatters and splashes. Ooh, Brad Pitt.
I just did this with students, except we used straws, and it was significantly more germy.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
I don't have the lung power anymore, so.
Their own water.
Yes, exactly.
So in this case, I did not wet my paint enough before I started painting with it, and so I got a few little old granules in there. That'll happen from time to time. I never really worry about it. Like Rita pointed out earlier, just work that in there. Just let it be part of it. I'll probably just leave that and let that do what it wants to do there. I'll let that ferment for a little while and see if I like it in 15, 20 minutes. Painting some over here because I want it to relate to that a little bit. I don't want it that the only place to be that. Sometimes I do, but today I don't. So, all right, back to the face. Still getting gradually darker. So let's do facial hair at this point. I'm going to use a little flat brush for beards and eyebrows and eyelashes and such. And kind of browny, kind of gray. There's a lot of blue in there too. And I'm just going to imply that texture. I don't have to paint every single whisker. Just enough that you kind of get the idea of what's happening there. I'm changing the direction up a little bit as I go. For the most part, they're all going the same way, but human hair is random. So you want to break that up a little bit. If it were too perfect, then it would be that weird Wolf Blitzer beard that you see on the CNN, that guy. He's got a few hairs up in his eyebrow. Always save the eyes for last because that's where the rubber meets the road. You can paint everything else so wonderfully, but if the eyes are off, then ugh. So I like to give them extra attention. What? What?
Hmm?
What'd you say?
Oh. My grandma's wearing sunglasses in this picture.
Cheater.
I am aware of my skill set.
When we do lips, the top lip is usually darker than the bottom lip as a rule of thumb. So the bottom lip will have more water and thus be lighter. Keep on keeping on. I'm gonna try to not take so long on this because it gets boring after a while. People to watch people paint. taking the darkness of that neck and cutting it back into the beard to emphasize that texture on the bottom end of the goatee. All right, I'm gonna start with the mouth real fast, which won't take long. I don't want black for the interior of the mouth, so I'm gonna do a dark brown. Hopefully the lips are dry. They're not. It's okay. I don't want to paint around every tooth because then he starts to look like a hillbilly. Little too emphasized. So while that's drying, do the eyes. Are they blue? I don't know. Let's pretend like they're blue. Bluish purple. Somewhere in there. Now when you paint the eyes, always leave a little fleck of white so that they'll look wet. If you paint them solid, then they're gonna look dead. Now, in looking at his eyes, I don't see the sclera or the white of the eye right there. I only see it on this side, and it's darker than what I have. And I see it on the same, see it here and just a little bit there. So I'm gonna paint what I see, but I'm gonna be careful because the brightest whites are both on the inside, and usually you want that to be on the same side of both eyes. So if it's on the right on this eye, you want it on the right on that eye, or the eyes will look like this or like that. So I have to be wary. I'm just gonna do just a little tiny hint of blue here, ever so slightly. I'll let that dry a bit. Do a little bit more hair.
Are there a lot of summer classes going on?
No. They are cutting budgets like nobody's business, so they don't want to have summer classes. Even though people need them to
Right.
graduate, they don't want to offer them. So.
So we put 2 pans of frozen fish the other night. One was fresh, one was frozen, so I left it in longer. And I ate it.
Is it still there? Oh no. How did they find out?
Well, I just went to put the frozen meatballs in the oven and it was still there.
Double oven.
was thinking about it, and I don't think I've ever painted a portrait of a human.
Oh my
In watercolor.
goodness. Well, you need to.
Lots of dogs, but not a human.
I don't think I've
I
ever
was-
painted a portrait of anything.
Yeah. I was just thinking that because Kat told me she's teaching painting this year, and she's been teaching just drawing in Art 1 for like, what, 2-3 years? She's like, I don't really remember how to paint. So this whole summer she said she's doing portraits. In that moment I was like,
That's
"Don't know
a
the last-"
red-headed cat.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's still in Houston, right?
Yes.
She slept a lot in my class.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she doesn't remember how to paint.
Yeah. I think she only took your class once, right? I think she took the other ones with, what's his bucket? Old man. What's his bucket?
Franzak?
No.
Tom Dennis?
Dennis.
Oh, that's too bad.
She took a class.
He ruined painting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I took a class with you. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't paint
I know,
anymore.
truly. So I think like when she took your class, she was like, "What is going on?"
It's a big difference.
I remember in painting 1, we finished with 3 paintings. All
Really?
semester.
I did not do well in this
One of
class.
mine was on a huge canvas. So I'm thinking about painting over it and
Oh, there you
using
go.
the canvas because it's a terrible painting.
Right. Good thinking.
That girl, she was like sausage in her fingers.
Actually, I took watercolor with him too. His very last semester of school.
Ah.
So he was kind of like, "Well, paint whatever you want.
When I had
Ready, set, go."
I heard one person who took him during that point saying that at that time his give a shit was broken.
Oh yeah. I would say that as well.
He's starting to come together. He's got to be patient.
That'll be a problem for me.
Ooh, yikes.
I can't believe I did that. It was a whole piece of mahi mahi. It was frozen, and so I cooked it separate from the fresh fish that I got, and I left it in the oven because Clint, comes in whatever he wants
Sure.
and just eats whatever's left on the counter. And 2 days later,
Was it done?
I hope it is, and dried,
All right.
ready to go.
Like fish jerky.
Soak it back in something and soften it up.
Spray some water on it.
Shows he gets a fish treat.
Trying to speed him up a little bit.
Is this technically your room?
No.
No.
But I have to use it for watercolor because we have to lay things flat.
Right.
So. You need to go see the new painting lab across the hall.
Yeah, I haven't seen Just pictures.
It's good stuff.
Everything you dreamed it would be.
Night and day.
It's awesome. So then the old painting studio is just glass stuff now.
I believe that is correct.
Did you ever take glass painting?
I did not. It's my one regret from school.
Yeah.
So I didn't take glass paint.
Well, we just hired a new glass person,
That was my next question.
so maybe
Glass
she'll
workshop.
do workshops or something. We'll
It's a
see.
she.
Yes.
Cool. Where's she coming from?
Ohio, I think.
Ooh. Very good. I'm sure that was appealing to be like, oh, brand new studio.
I haven't talked to her, haven't met her.
Gotcha.
All right, I'm gonna stop here. I'll keep working it and I'll finish it for you. But you get the gist. Build it up slowly. Build it up slowly.
You can maybe record that and just play it over.